Hi, this is Cheryl, and welcome to my channel. And for those of you who have subscribed to my channel, welcome back. Glad to have you back. I was out in my art room and I was cleaning up the other day, and I went through my scraps of stained glass and sorted them out, and then got inspired to do a little creation. So don't throw out your scraps. Stained glass is very expensive, and so we want to use every last bit of it. So let me show you how I created this little flower. So I pulled out a few pieces out of my bins, and I have my colors separated so that's easy to go through. And I just grabbed a few things and put them out on the table and came up with this idea. So I had some half marbles, glass marbles that I had in my drawer, and I pulled them out and I said, oh, let's just do a little abstract flower. So I took out my pieces and played with them and found that these were the pieces I wanted to use. So with a little bit of trimming here and there, um, I came up with a composition. So, I moved around my pieces. As you see, I'm moving them around. The bottom piece was already cut in a wave pattern, so I just trimmed my pieces to fit the wave. And it had a straight edge at the bottom, which made a nice bottom piece. And then I cut the stem. Um, but then I started playing around. As you see, I'm going to move them around and figure out how I really want it to end up, trimming off a few pointy, sharp ends that were there, but really not much cutting involved. I took them straight from the bin and trimmed a few pieces. So don't throw away your scraps, because you could come up with some cute little abstract ideas and come up with a nice little sun catcher. This one turned out to be about 4 inches tall and about 3 inches wide. It's small, yes, but you can put them together rather quickly because you don't have to sit and cut the glass pieces. They're already cut for you, um, and make some abstract art. So playing around and twisting things around and seeing how they fit and trying to come up with a composition that I liked. Um, I thought this little flower would be cute. So it was a spontaneous creation after spending hours cleaning up my art room, because my art room always ends up a mess. So I had to straighten it out before I could continue with any of my painting projects, and just wanted to get it straightened out. So at the end of the day, I decided, well, let's just put this together. So I'm showing you how you can use your scraps to create something tangible. And be creative with it. So there we have it all fitted up, and now the next step would be to grind any of the edges down to get rid of any of the shards and the pointy ends. Being careful not to cut myself, because these are sharp little pieces, and just running them through the grinder, smoothing out the edges, giving some tooth to the glass so that the foil can stick to it. And we're doing this in the Tiffany method. And we'll go through this really quick. And at the end, if you stick through, I'll show you how to do some decorative solder work so that you can see how you can be creative with that as well. So running through really fast. Um, Taking my tiniest little pieces, being careful not to cut myself. I don't have my finger protectors on. Because again, everything was put away and had everything nice and clean. With the marbles, I wanted to grind them as well because they're smooth, so the foil wouldn't adhere as well as if you gave some a rough edge for it to stick to. So going through and just giving it a quick grind around the edges helps the foil to stay. And the foil is what is important for the solder to turn out well. So there we have it. We have all our pieces done, grinded, and cleaned. And now we just want to put our foil work on, placing the foil in the center and using my clay stick to smooth around the edges, make sure it's adhered well. You don't want any loose pieces of foil because your solder work will show that. I do a couple of the marbles for you to see. You want to make sure that you have enough on the front edge to have a little bit of a curl so that the solder will hold the marbles in to your work. But not so much that the solder would take over the design. So magically all the marbles are done. And we move on to our glass pieces, making sure that they're in the middle of the foil, leaving about a 1/4 inch overlap. You want to fold your ends in and fold the one side over top of the edges. So you're tucking it in like an envelope. Smoothing out the corners, making sure everything is nice and smooth. So get your scrap pieces out and play with them and come up with a nice abstract pattern and make something with them. Don't throw them out. Stained glass is much too expensive to throw away, so try to use as much of it as you can. Trimming a little overlap there with the X-Acto blade. So I'm in New York, and yesterday is when I did this. It was March 11th, 2021, and we had a beautiful day. It was like 60 degrees out on a March day. It was pretty nice. And my husband came home from work early and working on the bathroom, trying to get my bathroom finished. Tile work is all done and grouted. And now we have to put the sink and the toilet in and finish it up. So that will be the project for tomorrow, trying to get all those things done. Get my bathroom put back together again. And it'll be nice because it'll be nice and new. So we're almost done with our foiling. Again, I can't stress it enough. Your foil work is the foundation for your solder work. So it dictates how well your soldering will end up. So now we have to fit everything up the way we want it. And another thing to keep in mind is you want to make sure that you have points of connection. Like the leaves on the flower are connected in 2, 3 spots so that they have strength. The piece will have some strength to it. You want to keep that in mind when you're doing your design work. As you see, it takes a little bit of fiddling to get it the way you want it, and I'm putting the pins in to hold everything in place so that I can do my tacking. It takes a bit of fiddling to get it the way you want it. Once you have it in place, you're going to use your flux. And I'm just going to tack the piece for now, just to get it to stay together. And I'm using my FX601 Hacko soldering gun at 360 with a 60/40 solder. And now we'll flux everything and get everything tinned first. Tinning means just giving it a coat of solder. And you just put a little bit of solder on your soldering iron and you just run the solder along the copper foil and it magically coats it. Turn it over and do the same thing. Don't forget your flux because your solder will not work without putting your flux down first. Now the thing about this piece is I didn't give it any thought, but I could have tinned my pieces before I put it together, which might have made it a little bit easier for me to create the piece, because now I have to get into all the little nooks and crannies and try and get the tinning done. So you might want to tin your pieces before you put them together. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm getting inside all the little areas and let gravity help you with this. Hold your piece horizontal and do your tin work on the edges so you get a nice round bead on the edges. Same with the inside edges if you've not tinned them like I probably should have for this piece. Didn't give it a thought. Anyway. So hey, if you like this video, please hit the like button for me and don't forget to share and subscribe to my channel. I'd appreciate that and would love to have you come back and see more of my videos. And Um, I'm going to share with you how to get some texture into your solder at the end here. And I'll slow things down so you can see what I'm doing. So right now I'm really cleaning up, making sure my soldering is nice and smooth and looks pretty. And if you watch my last video, you will pick up on some soldering tips there. And I'll put a link to that above. So you can catch the soldering tips in that video. Making sure I have a nice round bead. Running my soldering iron through. Making sure everything's covered, no coppers showing through. Checking both sides, making sure everything looks nice. And we'll be moving on to doing the texture work next. Oh, and I put the jump ring on off camera, so I didn't film that. Okay, so I put a little bit of solder on my iron and I very lightly touch to drop the solder onto my other solder work. And it's giving me little beads. Now I'm going to check the back. And I'm going to clean up anything that ran through. And I'm just flicking the solder off, the excess. And there you have it. Little beads of solder creates a little texture on the ground of this abstract. And the piece is finished. I have to clean it and wax it, and it's done. It's pretty. And so thank you for watching my video. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.